Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 13th of April, year 2022. I hope everyone is doing well. And Kelly just informed us that there is a snowstorm, so everyone stay safe and warm. I just wanted to introduce the panel members that are available today. We have Kelly, who is a Qigong teacher and a spiritual teacher. He has years and years of experience teaching Qigong. Good evening, Kelly. And his partner may join in a little while, potentially, who is also Kelly with an IE. And then we also have Patricia, who is one of our group meditators, and also joined with Marla, who has been part of a group meditation group Fridays, and every third Sunday we have group meditation. So I actually had a question. Kishori had left a message for Kelly. That's why I was asking about Kelly last week, when Kelly was talking about that it's a good thing to cry, right?
Yes.
So Kishori said that she cries quite a few times, like about 4 or 5 times a day. Is that good? So if you want to quickly answer that, Kelly, and then I'll actually ask the actual question that I have copied and pasted. Thank you.
Well, the short answer is yes, crying is always good, except when we are letting it overwhelm us and we are not being observant. When we are just wallowing in our grief, it's a lot different, because crying does wash away and helps release, but there's also the crying of where we abandon ourselves and we let the grief overrun us and overwhelm us. So even with crying, sometimes it takes a while to get through grief. Everyone's process is different, but what I know from my experience in processing my own grief and watching Kelly, who can she just cry through everything, learn and teach herself how to process without crying all the time. It's important to understand that we don't need to cry all the time. We can let ourselves feel, we can observe, we can be present with what we're feeling. And even if there is a feeling that we could cry, we don't have to. So there's one of, it's a fine balance again. Everyone's journey is different, but yeah, there are, for myself, my own experience when I was getting divorced and I had finally separated, and the relief that I felt of actually no longer having this person in my life, I cried. I cried like 3 or 4 times when I woke up. And, I'd cry on my own when I was by myself during the day, either at the office or running errands. I'd get teary-eyed just from the relief of having the space of having stepped out of that energy, just the sheer relief. And then sometimes I'd come home and I would cry all evening on and off. So depending on what stage a person is at, whether or not it is grief, whether or not it is, grief is part of everything pretty much. Tears are good, but again, making sure that we are not wallowing in the grief, that we are not wallowing in the pain and letting the pain overrule our ability to be observant and to be present.
There's a question from Patricia there.
Oh, why do we cry?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the thing, okay, what the whole thing about being a victim is because our egos and our shadows tell us that we shouldn't be vulnerable. We should not let ourselves feel. That's why our mind, our ego will tell us that I feel like a victim when I'm crying, is because we're conditioned to believe that being vulnerable, especially with ourselves, is a huge no-no. Is like, and that when we're still believing that it's something that we shouldn't do, then we still feel like we're a victim or that something bad is happening to us when we're crying. And this is really, really important to understand that this whole victim issue, this victim consciousness is literally like the background hum of all of our ego programming, right? So everything that we do that makes us feel like a victim, that's actually a really great opportunity to go, wait a minute, hold on a second. I can feel that feeling. I feel like something bad is happening to me, but I'm also releasing at the same time. Why is this? Why do I feel like I'm being a victim all of a sudden when I'm actually releasing? That is, and again, you have to be careful because our ego and our shadow will want to twist it around and make sure that you still blame someone or you judge yourself for feeling what you're feeling. So the whole victim thing, victim paradigm, that story, that limited belief about not being safe to feel is what that's about. And hey, I went through the whole paradigm of being like a traditional male. It's like where I don't show any weakness. I don't, I'm tough, I'm strong, I'm a martial artist. Like I don't give in. I fight, right? Been there, done that. There is a lot more strength in being vulnerable with yourself than anyone can ever explain to you. And I know for myself, my own practice got so much deeper when I gave up trying to be tough with myself and let myself be vulnerable. And when I stopped telling myself that something wrong was happening or I was being a victim by all these feelings coming up to the surface, when I stopped that story, I cried a lot more for a little while because I was like, oh, wait, I just saw what I was doing to myself. It's like I was victimizing myself by being angry at being a victim or feeling like a victim at being sad and angry, and then angry at being sad, and then sad at being angry, and angry at being, over and over and over again. And, it takes practice to let go of that space. And that is also one of the things where, our ego doesn't want us to develop that practice and develop that awareness that it's okay to feel, it's okay to be vulnerable. And this is what being present with ourselves is all about, is why we cry when we're watching a sad movie? Sad movies are awesome for that, because that's like a gift, like where you feel that welling up inside of us. It's like, it's great I get teary-eyed watching like regular like TV shows, right? Because like letting yourself feel is an actual spiritual strength. Again, you want to make sure that you're not letting it overwhelm you, that you're not letting it cause you to wallow in your grief or your sadness. Like having those moments, those pangs. It's like, you got TV shows, people say, oh, TV is evil and stuff like that. It's like, well, yeah, if you're not aware of yourself emotionally, it can really, run roughshod over you and trigger you in ways that cause you to feel like a victim and cause you to feel emotionally unstable if you're not aware of what's going on. But again, those moments, like, it's like great character development, great writing, a good joke. Like, oh my God, like there have been times where, I've laughed for like, I couldn't stop laughing because like the joke and the delivery was so good. Release is release. Being emotionally present is being emotionally present. There's no rhyme or reason. It's like when spirit is ready to show you more, it shows you more. It gives you more. Whether or not it's tears or laughter.
One of the things that both Eckhart Tolle and Kim-Ing talk about is the pain body, Kelly. So what I want people to understand is yes, you may cry out of emotion, but know that if we have a pain body, then take care of the pain body, dissolve the pain, work towards dissolving the pain body. And that's where practices like Qigong help, because they are actually taking you into your body and getting you to where the contractions are stored in your body, right? Where your knots.
Yeah, where the tension is. Yeah.
Where the tension is, to release the pain body. So that's one aspect I would say. If somebody's feeling like crying and crying and crying, it actually may be an aspect of the pain body feeding into negative thoughts. That's the cycle, right? It
Yep.
takes a negative thought, thinks it, like you're thinking about your aunt or your mother that did something, and then your aunt that did something, and then uncle that did something, and we are spiraling. Then that goes to the coworker that you're not having a good relationship with, and then the manager that is irritable or irritates. So it just feeds in, right? And 2 hours later,
Yep.
we cried
Yeah.
ourselves because we are just thinking negative thoughts. So that's
That's what I mean by victim consciousness.
perfect. Thank you. So here comes the question. The question is, this person asks, I have been trying to get rid of a habit of building story or assuming the reason behind others' actions. I'm able to manage for some time when I'm conscious, but the old thinking pattern comes back. Also, I am too attached to material things. I get offensive and angry when someone uses my stuff without permission. I find myself too much trapped into attachment to material things. Any suggestions? Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, well, immediately this is about control. Plain and simple. This is about control. People using, so this person is aware that they need to be conscious, that they are aware of this pattern. This is straight up all about control and emotional protection. And probably what's going on is, again, attachment to materialistic things and people using your stuff. Having lived most of my life as a bachelor and then suddenly finding myself with 4 kids and a partner living with me, all of a sudden had a lot of old stories along those lines come up, where suddenly like people were using my stuff, eating my food, and it's like, okay, communication here. It's like, what's going on? And feeling these feelings come up, and it's just like, oh, interesting. Okay, I haven't felt that in a long time. Where is this coming from? And is this mine? Right? So there was a lot to unpack from the space that these kids I'm now living with and partner, in terms of the impact of the divorce that they had been through, that I was on the receiving end of, and I had my own habits that we needed to talk about, and there were just some basic assumptions going on that people were not aware of. So when we have these kind of control issues come up, and again, I've shared my house for almost 20 years, so I've gotten used to people using my stuff and whatnot. So when all of a sudden I had this huge pressure and all this anger about people using my stuff out of, brand new all over again, it was like, oh, like what's going on here? Because again, I've had roommates for 20 years. It's like, it's not a new thing. So going through the process of identifying the emotional attachment to control, especially in our external environment, whether or not this person is, when they getting angry that about people using your stuff, if you're not actually communicating with these people, then it leaves you open to the story of anger. If you're not actually being present, if you're not actually communicating and looking at where your trigger is, where this trigger of pain is coming from, right? So the emotional trauma that this person is holding on to has a lot to do with feeling safe. And this is what control is about. We spend our lives not looking at the stories of safety that we tell ourselves and the habits of anger that we've let ourselves acquire and develop because we believe that actually keeps us safe emotionally. And what I would suggest is, okay, and then there's PTSD. Okay, so if there is PTSD involved,
that's another question, Kelly.
Oh, that's another question. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on Kelly's. Oh, here we go. I'm on Kelly's laptop instead of my own, so I'm just sort of different ways of looking at the chat here. So this person's aware of the pattern. They're aware of the anger, and that you get offended. So this is a story. This is, this person needs to be aware that this is the pattern. They've identified the pattern. They're observing the pattern. They need to incorporate either meditation or something physical to help them shift gears when they feel triggered this way. This is one of the main ways that I've used, again, wiggling your toes is one of the simplest little things, but it is one of my go-tos for getting me out of my head, for triggering a different response. So when we have triggers, especially anger triggers, it's really important to have something immediate and usually physical, like even holding something. And the Irish got their worry stones and stuff like that, right? So you can have like a worry stone and you can rub it, and that was like literally get you out of your head and get you more physically connected with yourself so that you can not be angry, to literally shift gears. So having something physical like that, even if it's, develop a habit of like pulling your earlobe or adjusting your glasses or something to get you to focus on something outside of your head, outside of the anger, and to shift your own personal awareness out of those patterns. Something that simple. Or, count backwards from 10. It's a very basic self-hypnosis trick, counting backwards from 10 and breathing with each count. It's a very, very, very basic, but very common classic self-hypnosis trick to do that. I did this when I was a teenager. I actually taught myself this when I was a teenager to help me fall asleep at night, because I have so much clairaudience or clairsentience going on, downloading too much information, where I'd be like, okay, I need to sleep now. That's, look at the stories. Look at the stories that you've told yourself about your anger and why you immediately get angry or get offended when people use your stuff. Maybe catalog images and movies that come up when you get angry, when you get triggered this way. That will be a really good indication of where this comes from, because we have such a habit of just being, angry and emotional and letting that overwhelm us. Stepping back into observation is about cataloging the images and the stories and the beliefs, the limited beliefs about why we need to be angry, why we are attached to things, why we get triggered when people use our stuff. Always ask yourself why. There's always a why. Even why is the sky blue or the grass green, that kind of thing. My 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for both answers. Marla, you were getting ready to say something. I think you had something on the tip of your lips. So
What are you, a mind reader, my dear? You're a mind reader. I swear, this woman. Either that or I'm doing unconscious things with my face. I don't know, but
did you have something to say?
I have lots to say. And I don't, and I think that might be a problem or part of the problem.
Thank you, Kelly.
No, Patricia doesn't think so, but I could probably go on for an hour, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. And I'm not sure it would help me either. Maybe I need a therapist. Your first question, why do we cry? And having answered that for myself many years ago when I was searching for that answer, what I found out, the information that I found out, the facts are that when you cry, elephants cry, animals cry, that it's a release. It's a release of, I think of it as an overflowing cup. Like there's a glass with water in it, which is our capacity for holding emotion. And then when it gets too much, it overflows. And so it washes away. And that's kind of the image I use for it. And I know that emotional tears have a different chemical makeup than the tears that come from, say, peeling onions And so, there it's doing a good thing. Crying is doing a good thing. Um, Kelly's obviously right. You can't let it take over your life, like it almost did mine when my baby died. That's got to be one of the worst things in the world. See, it's very much close to me right now. Um, I cried every morning for 2 hours for 1 year. And what pulled me out of it was physical exercise that I enjoyed. What I did was I started offering, it was back in the 80s, early 80s. So the aerobic dancing was the thing, the Jane Fonda thing. Okay, so I would choreograph music and I would offer aerobic dance classes in my small Colorado mountain community. And it helped me lose the weight that I had gained during that time. It was a baby that died halfway through a pregnancy. So, there was so much there, and it was just, I needed to cry. And there's been other times in my life that if I don't think, I've said to somebody recently, if I couldn't cry, I would be dead by now. And I really believe that, because my body needed to release that. I don't know what would have happened inside of me, but it would not have been good. And I would not have survived without it. It's just a painful life. I don't know. I have a painful life sometimes. And recently I have, last couple of weeks, I have been triggered in some very deep ways. Things in me that haven't been triggered before are being triggered, and they're foundational. And I don't want to go into that now because it'll spiral me. And that's part of the reason I haven't gone into it, is because I don't want to devolve into a pain body attack. So, I do have that choice and I can control that. All I have to do is think about something else and say, think about something. That's all I have to do is start thinking. On the other hand, thinking has been the way I've survived some of these attacks, because I can think it through. And so I don't like to think of thinking as my nemesis or the negativity that draws me away from spirituality, because I don't think it always is. When I'm making up stories about why somebody did something to me, which happened just 2 days ago. Wow, I had a story constructed about my family that you wouldn't believe, really. And it triggered something. I thought, why am I thinking all these things? Oh, what are the feelings underneath here? Oh, being left out. That's what it is. Being left out. It's very painful to be left out. And I've had those experiences in my life so many times that I guess it's time for me to deal with it. But I find it difficult to remove that thinking component completely for a very long period of time when I'm triggered. I have to rely on what I've learned through this group and Eckhart, and I have to allow the feelings without reverting to the thoughts behind them. Now, why do I feel this way? Because so and so and so did something. Wait a minute. Why to me is not a great question in times like that, because I will find myself explaining to myself that I've done something wrong, that somebody else has done something wrong, that I'm defective. That's another one that's coming. Is there something basically wrong with me? And that's a belief I've had almost my whole entire life. And I recognize it as a foundational belief. I also know it's not true. But that part doesn't get a say when I'm feeling this way. It's okay right now because you guys are listening. you're listening. Imagine that, being listened to. That's been part of my journey since I first came to this group, as you well know. Poonam, being listened to is very therapeutic for me. So I've been struggling to balance dealing with all of that stuff and trying to find some, my great granddaughter right now is the piece of joy that comes into my life that centers me into peace and joy. And that's, I guess I need to look harder for other things. But that's it. And I even had a hard time deciding to come today because this is also close to the surface. And I apologize for if I need to. I apologize for what's the word, indulging myself. But when I look at the question, that helps me to go back to the question. Okay.
You have nothing to apologize for.
I know that's what everybody tells me, but it sure feels like I do, Kelly. It sure feels like I do.
I know when you're in the middle of it and when you're feeling it. I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
I know. I've been there. It's not easy to accept that what you feel for yourself is your truth and is acceptable, and that is perfectly all right to feel what you're feeling.
Well, thank you for that, for reminding me of that, and that coming out of somebody else's mouth and not just mine.
I will remind you as many times.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
Over and over and over again. I'm a little stubborn that way. I warn you now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. That's nice to know. I can't read because it's all blurry.
I have been trying to get rid of a habit of building story. Marla, it's pointing
Yes.
to you. I have been trying to get rid of a habit of building story or assuming the reason behind others' actions. How apt is it to what you
It's
just...
perfect. I read that part. I read that part and I thought, God, that's what I was doing. And, but then here's what I go through. It's like, well, the story, maybe it's true. Maybe it's my intuition telling me that's what's really going on here. No, remember, you don't talk back. I don't talk back to that kind of voice. I'm trying not to talk back to that kind of voice because I really don't think it's helpful. Let me read the rest of that question here.
I'm able to manage for some time when I'm conscious, but the old thinking pattern comes back.
Oh, yeah. I have decades of thinking patterns, and it's been very, very challenging to counter that. And when I first started this journey and joined this group and went to the School of Awakening and did the Enlightenment course, I thought, well, I've got it. Now I know. Now I'll be happy. Now I've got it. I've got it. Oh, that's just, why am I not happy? I must be doing it wrong. Okay, I must be doing something wrong. Well, maybe it's just that I'm, and then I go into this whole thing about why isn't it working the way I think it should be working? And there come the shoulds. To me, shoulds are like, they're tyrannous, they're tyranny, the tyranny of the shoulds, another chapter in my book. Well, I should be feeling peaceful if I'm doing this right. No, maybe not. Why do I, and then I just get going on this train. So I do feel like I need to do something different than I've been doing. And I like what Kelly said about, what was it? I've done the rock, I've done the toes. Oh, the counting backwards. Yeah, the counting backwards. Maybe counting backwards with meditational music, or the meditational. I have to find something different. I already exercise on the treadmill, so I know that I'm moving. Well, I'm gonna pass it along to somebody else because I think I've shared about as much as I need to right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Ken, did you want to say something about this? because I want to get to Megan's question too. So,
Okay. Yes, I mean, it's amazing how much I could talk about, also about how much I'm learning and how much I'm letting go of. And, to start out the question about the crying, I know I went through a period, I think it was 14 years without crying. And then when I did, it was like a floodgate that actually helped me tremendously. So it's amazing what areas of my life got jolted because they either hurt so bad, pain so bad, feelings, and then all of a sudden something shifts. And I think those were moments of my life that I knew I was on the right track, because if I wasn't participating in making the changes, but I was still resisting, denying, trying to control. It was like that was the old paradigm of self-reliance. I'm going to do it by myself, because if I don't, that means I'm weak and I'm a coward and I'm selfish and all the negativity, that things that were told to me. And then it got to the point where I didn't need anybody to tell me anything. I was doing it to myself. So I took over the programming, took over the shame and whatnot that wasn't mine. So it's just amazing how much, and even before I came to the group, I mean, I was petrified to show up and to speak and to talk. And I'm just so amazed that I can show up now with no fear. And I'm not watching over if I'm going to stutter, if I don't know how to pronounce a word, or I think this one's smarter than me. It's like, it's okay. I really feel like we're all in this together, and we're all being our loving self. And understanding the presence has been such incredible, because I can actually hear myself without judgment. And if I do say something, I can go, okay, well, next time I can say it differently, but I'm not beating myself up. So there's so many things that I can see where I was and where I am now. And now I am mirroring, but without my critic or without the judgment. I'm hearing with being here now, and being able to be available to being here now has been such a gift. And it's like, I feel like I'm definitely in school, but I'm in a nice, healthy, loving school. And it isn't just here now. When I first started, it really was here. And now I can go out, and no matter where I am, now I'm taking a new loving self with me. And it's just been it's been so amazing to be able to understand where others are at and have compassion. And that was definitely mirrored through this group. And so I just can't, I'm just so, I guess really just pleased and blessed that by what I'm learning and what I'm seeing. So that's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
So here, this person says, I have been trying to get rid of a habit of building story or assuming the reasons behind others' actions. So it almost is like the ego is very active, right? The ego, to me, when I read that, it's almost like reality is happening, right? But the ego wants to strengthen itself. The ego wants to show its power, and it is not allowing us to see what is, the clarity is not there. You know, reality is always kind. and we are not seeing the isness of the present moment, the inevitability of the isness of the present moment. But we're using a conditioned pattern, and the conditioned pattern, what I had responded to this person was like in their family, somebody, some parent, some mother, some father, somebody has the habit of always judging the present moment. They've taught this person since childhood to judge whatever is happening in the present moment. Like my mom used to do that. Like in India, we get milk delivered every day to the door. And the moment that person doesn't show up, oh, these people never come on time. They're always like a blanket statement, right? They're always known to be late. You can never trust them. And then that'll move on to people can never be trusted. Men can never be trusted. Then her single motherhood, men can never be trusted, right? It'll just move on, escalate the narrative in her mind. And I mean, I love her to death. But I want to use her example because she was the epitome of what not to do. She's taught me the epitome of what not to be, right? She gave me an example, and I've known, like, I didn't know what happened to me even as a child. I had some awareness because people, I mean, children normally just emulate their parents. The conditioned pattern just goes on. And I could see each and every one of her patterns, even as a child without Eckhart's teachings. I've known Eckhart's teachings for the last 12 years. It's not since 2011, so 11 years. So it's not like a long time that I've known, but I've known, so that's what I see I've been trying to get rid of the habit of building story or assuming the reason behind others' actions. Caesar, you wanted to speak about that or the rest of it? Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So I liked what everybody had to say too, by the way. Thanks for sharing your stories, Marla and Ken there. So we know when we do things out of habit, it's in a sense unconscious behavior. It's the routine, and anything that you do out of habit is kind of like being on autopilot. And it's probably best to break them habits, no matter what it is. You know, drinking coffee every day, then you find out when you don't have coffee one day how much you really depend on it and how much you're attached to it because, well, I gotta have my coffee or I can't function. It's like a mental hack there. You know, driving to work, taking the same way to work every day. Take a different road, take a different path. It's not a bad idea to not have habits, you know, break them routines, because essentially it really is autopilot. And I would say more so it's unconscious behavior. As far as the getting offensive and angry when someone uses my stuff, I'll get permission. Oh, attachment. Yeah, attachment's crazy. Well, you know, until you realize just how unimportant the material things, you know, our possessions really are, you may just continue to be attached to them. And it stinks. We've all been there. We've all had our attachments, you know, to possessions. And it could be, you know, attachment to a relationship too, to a significant other. And then none of them are good. None of them feel good. You know, what makes you feel good today will surely cause you pain tomorrow. Hence the attachment. So the suggestion would be to let it be as it is, and don't put so much time worrying about whether or not you're going to get your possessions back. It's almost like, I'm guessing that the things don't come back that often when you borrow them out, and that's why you get angry. But it's almost like you're attracting that because that's what's in your vibrational frequency. I'm worried about my tools not coming back, or the thing I lent you not coming back. And what do you know? It don't come back. You know, you're creating that, you're putting it out there, you're focused on that, and that's kind of what the universe is going to deliver back to you.
Right.
So maybe try a different avenue. It's okay to lend your stuff out, and if it don't come back, hey, it wasn't meant for you. You know, the bicycle you lent somebody might have been your demise. You might have fell off it and cracked your head or something. Who knows? Just know if it doesn't show back up, then it wasn't meant for you. And that would be a lesson, because I'm sure it's going to be painful. There has been painful, but you know, when that happens, try to understand why. You know, not why it didn't show back up, but why it happened. Why? What is it trying to teach me? You know, anytime something happens that makes you feel uncomfortable is most definitely usually a profound lesson. You know, we know our greatest lessons, are the most valuable ones anyways, are the ones that hurt us the most, the ones that don't feel so good. And until you kind of master that lesson that life is offering, it will repeat the lesson over and over and over and over again until you do master it. And usually them lessons get a little harder and more painful. So, you know, the law of impermanence, right? I mean, over and over again, you know, everything that is will soon not be. Nothing is here permanently. You know, everything. How does it go, Poonam? My head's still somewhere else from work, I guess. But you know, nothing real ever existed. And Kelly, how did that go?
Nothing real is threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Herein lies the peace of God. So beautiful. So big exclamation point there. Thank you, Poonam. You know, nothing is ours. You know, there's going to be a deep realization there, you know, from our possessions to our children, my children, my this, my that. None of it is mine. That doesn't mean don't enjoy them. You know, definitely, most definitely enjoy the things that enter your life or your timeline. Enjoy them as they're passing by. And when they go, let them go like a cloud passing by. Let what comes come. Let what goes go. As it is, plain and simple. Anything outside of that, chances are will be a little painful. So if you could think of it in that sense, you know, and don't hold things too tight, whether it's, you know, a possession of something materialistic, like a pen, or a relationship. Non-attachment is holding ever so softly, like you're holding a baby bird. And when the baby bird wants to fly away, you're holding it loose enough so it can fly away. And that goes the same thing for your possessions, whatever it is you have. Hold them loosely. If somebody borrows them, always help if you can, or just simply say no, and then be okay with that too. But in the meantime, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm saying lend everything you have to everybody who wants it, and don't worry about if you don't get it back. That's not what I'm saying. But just be firm in your, you know, whatever it is. And if, but my point is just hold on to things loosely. For the Christians, I think the Bible said, you know, why did they go there? What moss and rust cannot consume, thieves will break in and steal. Don't hang your treasures there, meaning everything. That, I mean, covers every spectrum of everything. So hold on loosely to all of them, and don't pay too much attention on the loss or the possibility of losing something of yours, because that will create the loss of it. And then this lesson will be taught, and this lesson will chances are be a little painful. And with that, I would hope you would learn the lesson, as we all do sooner or later. And again, this just not only applies to material things, this also applies to relationships. You know, non-attachment, there, it's a fine line between love and attachment. Very fine line. Most people are really infatuated to the point of attachment, not loving. You know, love says, I am here to make you happy. Attachment says, you are here to make me happy. Let that apply to your material things too. So, you know, let what comes come, and what goes goes. It's my 1 cent.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Caesar, for all the pointers. along with the pointer on impermanence. While you were speaking, I got reminded of something I wanted to tell Marla. Before this session started, I know Eileen hasn't responded, but I kind of knew Eileen and April were not going to be here. And then Patricia is always early, and she was not there. So when I saw you, all of you, one of the affirmations that I read every day in the morning and in the evening before I go to bed is, this is one from Dr. Joe Dispenza that says, the divine appears in my life every day. And in each and every one of you today, I see the divine, because I didn't know who would show up. I was almost ready to go live alone because nobody had showed up until Kelly first showed up, and then Patricia. So I just wanted to let y'all know, I see the divine in you, Marla, in all of you today. That's how divine has appeared as a miracle today for me. So thank you. With that, Patricia, you want to speak to, so then we can go to Megan's question.
Wow. Let me just take a moment on the divine part, because I sense this in my day-to-day too. And it comes more and more when I simply surrender. So what I meant as advice to that person, developing different habit. For me, it was just those sticky notes that you suggested, surrender. I started developing the habit of surrender, because our physical bodies, I constructed to our brains to live and use habits, right? Because that's the way it functions. So instead of having habits work against us, the bad habits that cause us, stress and destroy ourselves, let's develop habits that actually let us grow and expand and be joyful. And they will actually be helpful when the trigger comes. So when we can build even the habit around the triggers, like I know that Tony Robbins had this exercise that, he made you first like be very sad, the entire body goes into that crying mode, that like poor me or whatever, and then immediately you go into ecstatic, it's like yes, like you win out, and like you do it a couple of times, and actually with that strong emotion, you almost forcing your body to like get grounded with that habit, new habit. And then I actually experienced this. If even slight as the bad trigger starts to come in and I'm starting to feel, my body goes already in like, oh, I'm happy. It just happens now automatically. So I developed something, that is right now working for me and bringing me back in the present and not letting dwell in the crying. But I did my share of crying between Marla, myself, and any one of you that during the lifetime cried, and anyone who's listening, we could definitely like cry the Pacific Ocean, because I felt that for years that's all I did every day. It's like there are some times where days that I just felt that this is what I am, and I would identify myself with it. And I felt alive. I couldn't feel alive any other way except when I cried. It was just so much of it. And my mom cried a lot, but she cried mostly watching movies. So when I saw my aunt being depressed and just sitting at her house on the couch, just crying and not talking to anyone. So, I guess it was in my family to just cry, but it wasn't, I didn't feel it was me, but it kind of was passed along. But I have actually a question to you. So what those habits of creating stories, do they come up with because of the limited beliefs. So what's like first, we have first some all programming, all limited beliefs, and then because we behave certain way and we continue to behave the same way, then it develops into a bad habit, correct? But the source of it is the belief. There's some kind of limited belief, isn't it? That, you know,
It's not so much as a limiting belief, it's more like they have been doing it, like a parent, a mother. I was giving the example of my mother, right? If we, like a biological automaton, just repeat the pattern of what our parent does, right? If they were in the habit of doing a narrative about what is coming up in the present moment, so as Byron Katie says, reality is always kind. Right?
kinder, yes, I heard, yeah, she said it's always much kinder than the stories we make up in our minds, yeah.
Right? Reality is always kind. So we are not looking at the compassionate side of
Mm.
what the present moment is.
So that
Making-
brings
We're
me,
making a narrative out of it. To our ego is trying to it's trying to roar, right? Strengthen itself. So it's making a narrative about what is going on in the present moment. Like I could have made a narrative about what was going on in my present moment, but I trusted it. The one thing I did was I texted you, Patricia,
Mm.
because I didn't know. I checked the codes and everything was right. I was like, did I post the wrong code somewhere? So I was checking the codes. Once I checked the codes, I messaged you. But
yeah, right action came because you surrender. I surrendered too. I was trying to find out the link like I normally do through notifications, and I couldn't find it. So I just immediately
But
decided, you know, text
another
Poonam.
person will go. Another person will start some story,
Oh, yeah.
right? They look at the present moment and start some kind of story. They may say, oh, people don't show up, or people are not trustworthy, or something like that. They'll start some kind of story, but there's no story to it. The reality is people will show up at the right time, whatever time it is.
Right,
They
like
will show up.
Eileen said, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That's a trust in some divine, like you said, there's divinity. I have though some practical advice for the person as far as being attached to material things. What worked for me is being generous and giving. You don't have to be about the same items, but in different areas. So where there's a saying, where focus goes, energy flows. So when you start thinking about what can I make for others, you start going that role. How can I tip a person that pump gas for me, or you know, tip someone at the restaurant? You're starting to give, so you like focusing on being giving, and all of a sudden you're expanding, and it really doesn't matter if someone uses your thing or not. Even if they do, you're actually grateful. Oh my God, they like it. You keep it. You're starting to just, and then you have more things coming to you, like people all of a sudden, you know, getting you gifts and stuff, being thankful. It's just completely turn around from focusing on, oh my God, how am I, you know, detach myself from those possession. Instead, go in the other way, just being generous and giving and noticing all the abundance around you. And but it always goes to the present moment, that I'm not this body, I'm not this thoughts, just this attachment from much more than just physical material things. So that's helped me just refocus, go somewhere else with that.
But you should realize what is happening to this person is the ego again. So they're in the throes of their ego. The ego identifies with something, and here it is with an external material thing. It identifies, and as Eckhart says, the me, mine, my pencil, my
I experienced that exactly.
my
It was that,
dress,
yeah,
my shoes, my handbag. Why is somebody using my handbag? They shouldn't be using my handbag. The moment we attach me, mine, my, we have identified, and the me, mine, my is just a thought. It's not even the
Right.
handbag. It's a
I
thought.
agree with that. It's just for me, the practical way to, make it, instead of, just keep understanding, just do it. And it helped by repeating going the other way. And I had an experience, just quickly tell you, I was in young adult. We went for a trip, and my friend, I was always packing more socks than, more underwear, more undershirts than just for 2 days for the weekend. Because I always thought, what if something happened? So my friend was not thinking. She got thrown into the river. She got all soaked. She didn't have a spare, clothes to wear. So I gave her mine. And that was one of them was my favorite, pair of t-shirt. And then she said, "Oh, Patricia, I'll wash it for you. I'll give it back." So I said, "Fine." When we came back home, a week later, I saw her here. She is like not even mentioning it. And all I can think of is about the t-shirt that she's not giving back to me. And I didn't want to be, not nice and just keep reminding her. But finally, I couldn't even sleep. And I said to myself, you know what? Let her keep it. It's just a t-shirt. The minute I said it, I just let it go. You know what? I want you to have it. It was meant to be yours somehow. So that was just something, that's all. But thank you so much, Marla, for being vulnerable. And I like the fact that even though you cried at the end of your sharing, you smile talking about your grandkids, great grandkids. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Well, you guys do that to me. You guys bring me up, way up. You really do.
So
You really do. I needed to be here today. Thank you, Patricia.
Eternally
I
grateful,
love you.
Marla. Eternally grateful, Marla. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Here we go. The next question is, I have complex PTSD. I have learned I'm my healthiest when I'm living in the present. That addresses my thoughts, and I sometimes do well and sometimes not. It's a practice, not perfection. I'd like to hear thoughts about how to address PTSD triggers and thoughts that don't come to me via my brain, but through my body. The body feels and the corresponding awareness may not always be there. Thank you. Kelly, take it away. It's all yours.
All right. Well, triggers. So PTSD will always come with very complex layers of triggers: physical, emotional, mental, existential, spiritual. My own experience with PTSD from various things, car accidents, other stuff. Triggers are triggers. And this is one of the things that we also have to understand, is to not give our power away to the pain, to the triggers, to the stories around the triggers.
Yes.
And this is the challenge. I mean, this is the real challenge. This is the work, is to maintain our discipline and our awareness and our ability to observe the space that we're in, and to be okay with what we're feeling, especially when trauma triggers come to the surface. PTSD can be like, sometimes it can be the simplest, weirdest thing, catching your toe on a rug and losing your mind. there's no rhyme or reason, because it has a lot to do with where your nervous system is at. Having something physical to help the endorphins and adrenaline and the kidneys and the adrenal glands flush the body and to purge your nervous system of any agitation is really, really, really beneficial. Herbs and supplements to support the nervous system dealing with PTSD are really, really important. Anything that will help reduce cortisol in the body and help the liver flush cortisol out of your system. Things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginseng, anything that's an adaptogen, not Korean red ginseng, but Siberian ginseng is really a favorite of mine. And also B12 to help the myelin sheath on your actual nervous system rebuild itself and maintain a healthy structure due to all the stress that your system will go through with PTSD. Depending on the situational triggers, because PTSD can be completely uninvolved with family, but you can be around people, and friends and family, and you can have one person who just continuously triggers you, and they've got nothing to do with the actual event that caused the PTSD. It's just the interactions. Sometimes removing oneself. Yeah. The biological realities of the nervous system are really important to look at. Anyone who has a good detox for the nervous system or the liver is always great point of context, good information. PTSD is tricky because your ego and your shadow will always want to make it about something else other than what it is. But again, one of the things that I've experienced from my own processes and own experiences with PTSD from car accidents and relationships is understanding that it's always the same broken record. It is always the fear. It is always the anger. It is always the overwhelming emotional content that gets triggered that needs to be looked at. And honestly, whatever works, whatever makes you happy, whatever helps you concretely shift gears and is of benefit, you should do that. And sometimes that's sleeping an extra hour, making sure you go to bed early, or giving yourself the opportunity to sleep in, or have extra baths, or have extra time to yourself to process. Because I can spout on and on and on about my own personal experiences with PTSD, but I'm not that person going through it. Whatever the person who is dealing with their own space of trauma and exacting triggers and the challenges of those triggers will know best. And sometimes what helps is actually fairly counterintuitive, because we've been holding on to this idea, this rigid idea of control, of suppression, of not letting ourselves feel some of the stuff behind the triggers. So educating ourselves as much as possible about what we can do to physically support our bodies is something that I am a huge, fan of and would definitely recommend. And again, I will not claim to have any answers on this, again, because PTSD is very personal and very specific to every individual and requires practice, a lot of practice. I know for myself, from car accidents and from relationships, digging through it is not fun. It sucks. It's ugly. It's unpleasant. And it involves a lot of tears to release and to grieve and to understand and to let go of the spaces that we have been in the past. And one of the things that I've done for myself is to deal with triggers is to give myself a lot of space. and to not judge myself.
Hmm.
PTSD is really, really tricky.
I
of
forget
over-
about compassion a lot. I forget self-compassion, and I do get like when I'm in a very bad trigger,
Uh-huh.
I tend to attach to it as opposed to
Yep.
because I don't like it. I want it to go away. Or I'm sitting there in the office and I'm like my ears are ringing or whatever the symptoms might be. I don't want to. I'm fighting it. As I was hearing you speak, I am re-victimizing myself when I do not have compassion for myself.
Right.
So I really appreciate that reminder this evening. I almost think that that's the key. And I also appreciate the sort of concrete take care of your body, with the vitamin, B12.
B12, get some Siberian ginseng. It's an
Okay.
adaptogen. Adaptogens like ashwagandha and rhodiola. Ginseng
Mhm.
is fairly easy to get a hold of nowadays, pretty much anywhere. Siberian ginseng. And it is one adaptogen, as in it helps your nervous system adapt to stress.
Okay, that's really
And
good.
And it's one thing that I have used 20 years easy.
Wow.
And part of it is not even just dealing with stress or my own PTSD, but the challenges and the demands of all the training that I've done are stressful emotionally,
Mm.
and have caused me to break down and cry and let go, because it's just so demanding physically that it breaks emotional and mental barriers.
Mm.
So from my own experience with actual PTSD from car accidents and relationships, being kind and gentle to myself was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I
And
need
it's
to
also
put,
sometimes the hardest.
it is the hardest, and and it's one of those things where it is a practice, and I literally forget. I know that compassion is a huge part of coping with PTSD, just that alone. But then you forget. I
Yep.
guess that was what you're talking about with the shadow something.
The shadow, your ego not being present. Yeah. Your shadow, for me, shadow is basically the energy of your reptilian brain that is at the back, where the amygdala, the hypothalamus is, where all
I
the
know that well.
survival instincts come from.
Yes.
Right. And one of the things that I've learned through my own process is that when you feel pressure at the back of your neck, at the
Mhm.
back of your head, when you get headaches from there, that usually means that your reptilian brain is pulling more blood in and is in overdrive to try and convince you, or like when you get when you lose track of yourself and you stop being compassionate and you get angry and get judgmental.
Mhm.
That was a huge thing where just one day it just clicked. I was like, oh wait, every single time this trigger happens, this place back here goes nuts and hurts. I was like, oh.
So that's even though you couldn't actually think the thoughts, oh, that's what it is, but you figured it out by feeling it and then figuring it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Done an awful lot of feeling.
Yeah.
And again, like one of the things that and you might want to write this down. One of the things that I have used over and over and over again is telling myself, again, you gotta balance out the pattern. You gotta balance out that internal negative dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting goosebumps here while I'm talking about to say this. One of the things that my voice changes too.
I noticed that now.
One of the things that I used to tell myself all the time is that I am okay feeling this information so that I can heal.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
And I would repeat that to myself over and over. I just want to cry now because this is one of my own personal keys that I found out that it works for myself, that I am okay feeling this information so that I can heal.
That's
Because
great.
you're basically giving yourself permission to feel, to heal, to integrate, to digest, and to be okay. And the biggest thing in terms of self-love that we forget to do is to tell ourselves that we are okay. Even with not being okay, it's still okay to feel the information of not being okay. When we
Mm.
are not okay, that's the most important time when to tell ourselves that we are actually okay, that I am okay. You are invoking the mechanics of engaging your higher self, your heart space when you say, I am okay.
Mm.
Even when you're not, because your ego, your shadow, those survival mechanisms want you to forget being okay.
Yes, it's
we-
almost like the other lady said earlier. I'm sorry, the lady with the beautiful flowers behind her. She said that, you know, that somebody had said, be very, very sad, but then emote very, very happily, sort of to kind of regulate
Yep.
yourself. Yeah. Good stuff.
It is when we tell ourselves that we are okay, even when we're not, it's like, I am okay, not being okay. That changes the dialogue, that changes the energy, that
Mm.
changes the way we feel about it by recognizing what we're feeling, recognizing that we are okay, recognizing that we are not okay, but also recognizing that we are okay not being okay,
Yeah.
and feeling all of that. So that was a big, huge threshold moment where I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, one moment in a relationship with a woman that became my ex-wife, where I told myself I was just absolutely losing my mind.
Mm.
And I stopped myself and went, wait a minute, what am I doing?
Mhm.
I'm actually okay. It's like, I got triggered, okay, you know, and I went back and I dug through. It's like, oh, I'm okay feeling that. I'm okay feeling upset. I'm okay feeling angry. I am okay being angry. I'm okay being angered by this. It is okay to be upset. And we live in a society where we are told that bad emotions are not okay.
This is so
Quote, unquote,
powerful.
bad emotions, right?
Yeah.
Anything that does not anything that disagrees with being a good person, right? And what you know, societal cultural norms are what? They're mores. They're like, oh well, to be accepted by society, you can't be angry, you can't judge, you can't express how you feel, you have to go along with what's going on, right?
Mm.
And when it comes to self-love, self-love is all about being okay with not being okay, and being okay with feeling.
That is very powerful. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. It's, you know, again, it's the one thing that I did is telling myself I am okay feeling this information so that I can heal. And I would repeat it and repeat it. Sometimes I even, like, I've told, you know, Kelly and the kids, the stairs upstairs, I'd get into the house and literally my body knew I was safe and I was home, and I would not be able to move, and I would be on the front step right inside the door and just crying for like a half an hour straight to just release, because I was, you know, I gotten through the day and I was safe, and my whole system was like, okay, time to get rid of blah.
Yes.
And I gave myself that space. It's like, I'm okay. I know I'm just processing.
I do that a lot with extra sleep.
Awesome.
And sometimes people do not understand it because I'm not sure napping is really popular in this country either. But I don't care because it is a way for me to regulate my body when my nerve endings are all shot, and you know,
Absolutely.
that will calm them.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Wonderful. I love my sleep.
Oh, you like to sleep too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very good for the body.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Incredible.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
advice. Megan, what I would say is one of the things that both Kim Ing and Eckhart would say is, and Kelly is a Qigong teacher, so he knows it, is doing an inner body meditation, because what has happened during your PTSD is, and not only Eckhart has said this, but medical medium says the same thing as well. There is too much adrenaline, like it almost is as though we've been attacked by a lion.
Yes.
We're just sitting here in an office, and there's just a coworker that is triggering us.
I describe it as I feel like 3 bears are chasing me. That's the amount of stress, I'll call it.
So what our body does is too much adrenaline is released, and the inner body meditation with Qigong is if you can take up, and Kelly, his partner teaches Qigong as well. If you can take up Qigong as a practice, as a physical practice, that will make you go inside your body, because it's a very inner feeling, all your cells of your body from the inside, kind of.
Mhm.
That's how I experience Qigong as. I've
Now,
never
would you
done
mind spelling that for me? I'm sorry.
Qigong. You want to put it in?
QI,
Kelly?
QI, GONG.
I'll put
Thank
it
you.
in the chat.
Thank
I
you.
got it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. Kelly, actually, my partner Kelly, the one with hair, teaches a woman's only little half an hour class Wednesdays at noon. I don't know if that fits into your schedule, but and there's also a basics that I have online on our YouTube channel of the 8 pieces of brocade that she teaches, and it is something that I learned just before I turned 13 that has a lot of EMDR in it. Eye movement dissolve. I never can remember the exact.
I know.
Okay, good. So everything that you're doing in the movements, when you're watching, when you're moving and breathing and allowing your eyes to follow the hand movements, right? When you're turning and you're drawing the bow or you're lifting the hands and stuff like that, when you're breathing and moving the eyes left and right, you actually help dissolve the attachment in the brain neurons of the trauma. And the 8 pieces of brocade is full of EMDR, as is the Bagua that I teach on Thursdays on Zoom. But there's a basics video on my YouTube channel that I can, if you send me a message, I can send you the link.
Sure.
And yeah, I've been doing it for 30 years. It still geeks me out 30 years later, how amazing it is. And the beautiful thing is that it's a direct beneficial impact on your nervous system and your organs. And the 8 pieces of brocade is famous for rejuvenating the kidneys and the adrenal glands and rebalancing all the organ function in your body.
Yes. That's really, really good information.
So
Thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
And as far as supplements are concerned, since Patricia brought up Medical Medium, on the group page, I did copy and paste his PTSD protocol. So if you take his book, Cleanse to Heal, there is a anxiety and PTSD protocol that he has. And of course, he recommends ashwagandha, lemon balm, B12, and licorice. All of those are used to protect like the nervous system, the phrenic nerve or the vagus nerve. So it may help, but he has a whole protocol.
Licorice root has a direct beneficial impact on the adrenal glands.
Yes.
Interesting.
And he has he recommends it from a supplement company called Vimergy, VIMERGY.com, Vimergy.com, because they make the supplement without alcohol and no fillers. It's pure. So it's like almost 4 dropperfuls of lemon balm, and you see a difference because I take it. I don't even have PTSD, but I take it every day.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Marla, do you want to say something, Marla?
Wow, all these tools. I love it. Sometimes I think I could spend the whole day taking all of the wonderful supplements I need to be taking, figuring it all out, getting it all lined up, getting a schedule. Just the effort of figuring all that out exhausts me. So I don't know. I really appreciate the the information that Kelly just gave. I really appreciate that. Let's see if I have anything else to say. I have a story, but I don't know how helpful it would be. I know that our body feels PTSD, and when we don't have any idea what's going on. The only experience I can relate to that is one that I dealt with I had to go back and find the original memory. Maybe it is useful since it's come up. When I was about 34, that was a while back. I had children. I was an adult. I was visiting a friend of mine who lives on a ranch, and she asked me if I would go collect the eggs from the chickens. So I said, sure. I've been watching the chickens, and they're so cute. They peck at the ground. So I went out and I opened the gate. I took my hand, I opened the gate, and I started to go in, and my body stopped. My body would not move. And I went, what's going on? And I thought, is it dangerous? There's danger here? And I looked around, I couldn't see anything dangerous. So I started to take a step again, and my body would not move. And I was so flummoxed by that I finally had to honor it. And I went back in and I said, I can't go in the gate. She looked at me like I was crazy. It's like my friend said, okay, I'll go get the eggs. And I thought, something's going on here. So I called my mother and I said, Mom, did something traumatic happen to me around chickens? And the story she told me was that when I was a year and a half old, I got glasses. This was back in 1950. The glasses then were heavy glass glasses, and they were very thick. And we were visiting friends on a ranch. And my little year and a half toddling body with new glasses was out in the yard walking around. And she heard a scream that she'd never heard before. And she went out and looked, and there was a rooster that had jumped up and grabbed my clothes like this and was pecking at my glasses. And I was, I don't remember, I don't have a memory, but I can imagine the terror I must have felt. And that's how it recorded itself in my body. And it was wonderful to learn that, because now I deliberately walk into where there are chickens. I haven't tried roosters yet. I might take off my glasses when I go to the roosters. But anyway, that's the little story I have about how things can encode in your body that affect you when you're not conscious, because I really have no memory. Thank you, Kelly, for all of your tools. I really appreciate that. And I love what you tell yourself. I'm going to replay this on YouTube to find that and record it, because that's important for me to do. I thought when you said it, I just didn't take time to write it down. Thank you. That's all.
Lots of love, Marla.
Thank you, Kelly.
And that's the adrenaline that's getting released and stored in our body, becomes a pain body. Excess. And that's why the cleansing helps. Cleanse out the excess toxicity of the adrenaline. Caesar, you want to say something, some advice after all that Kelly has said?
Well, we've never experienced PTSD, and everything that Kelly had touched on was very logical. I don't really think I have anything to quite add there. It sounds like, PTSD is just in a nutshell, a situation of the past has embedded itself, maybe so traumatizing that it embedded itself into the memory banks so very deeply, having caused so much pain. And to some degree, there's a hard identification with it. as the person. And you look at somebody like Kelly, who's very strong-willed, and it can affect, you know, him in that way. That just shows you the severity of it. Not to say it cannot be overcame or dealt with, you know, successfully. And you know, what a crazy thing to have PTSD, which is, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder, is correct in saying, yeah. And here we are on a Power of Presence, you know, page or live, and you know, the fix is presence, right? I mean, if we could stay 100% present in the midst of, you know, the a trigger arising, I guess, because at the end of the day, the trigger is what really sets the whole thing into motion. And I can't speak on it because I don't know. But it would seem like if you can turn, you know, a trigger into the, like, you know, the birds on the island, here now, the Totally made reference to, if you can turn, you know, a trigger into the little bell that you hear at the beginning, to Kelly at the, you know, the beginning of any Buddhist practice, ding, or the little ding in Eckhart's audiobooks or whatever. But if you can turn that in somehow into just a reminder to get present, then that could become a serious practice. And I'm sure many people actually do that because it's, you know, you get triggered, and then all of a sudden, you know, the thoughts all come back and arise, and here comes the memory banks just flushing and consuming, you know, the individual. We know the more we, you know, focus on whatever it is that causes that pain, the deeper the pain gets. You know, just like anything else, you know, until you accept something. I'll just use a divorce. Somebody, you know, that has had a divorce, you know, can still see a person that looks like their ex, and their heart just cringes, and they get sad or they get mad. They can go right back into a depression per se. Instead of, you know, seeing that person or somebody that looks like that person and smiling, you know, it just is what it is. There's no better way to put it. And what happened, and it's all about that present moment in dealing with anything, and, you know, saying, I fully accept the isness of this moment, and within lies gratitude and peace and joy, and everything else, you know, is right here in the present moment, and it's always available to us. But again, you know, as far as the PTSD goes, I just can't speak too much more on it. I just know that it's, you know, something that is from the past that's affecting the present, and it keeps us from being present. But boy, if those that have that could turn that into, you know, a practice of presence, it would probably do great wonders. And that's all I have on that.
Thank you so much, Caesar. I was expecting you to talk about gratitude. You always speak about gratitude. So how do you feel, Megan, about gratitude, like gratitude for even when you are in the throes of the PTSD, like after it's done, being grateful for that experience? I know Kelly has said that this information is here to heal me, right? But can we say, I am grateful for that experience?
Well, that's interesting because I am focusing on being compassionate, and you just kind of took it up a level. Because truthfully, I've never thought about being grateful for some of the triggers that I've had in my bodily reactions to same, without getting into, you know, details. So I will have to give that some thought, and I truly will, because I'm going to give it some thought. That's where I am with that. Thank you.
There was one video of, so one of the things that we talk about on this live is also Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings. And when Caesar was talking about presence power, it came to me that I should talk to you about the Friday meditations and every third Sunday meditations. we play a sound meditation by Sacred Acoustics.
That's great.
So you can actually lie down, and the headset, the noise canceling headset that I have, you can buy a noise canceling headset.
I
You don't
have
need
one.
you don't
I have
need to,
PTSD.
you don't need to like be sitting up. You can lie down and listen to the music. Yeah, you will have to buy it. It's like less than $20 per meditation. I mean, I must have spent like $400-500 between providing it for the group meditation and providing it for others. But
I have been looking for sound meditation.
if you message me, I'll give you the website. It's called Sacred Acoustics, and it is binaural beats, and that will increase your presence power just lying down and listening to it on a noise canceling headset.
Mm.
And focusing on your breath, like try and your mind will take you somewhere, but try and focus on your breath and listen to it. And this is when you're not having the trigger, you're not having under normal circumstances, do the meditation and see how it helps. I do about 2 hours of meditation every day. Leave alone the fact that I take the melatonin from Medical Medium, the Vimergy supplement. So the sleep is very, very good. I get like really deep sleep. Like I don't even know those 6 hours where my spirit has gone and come back. It almost like is like I've woken up 5 minutes later, I've woken up, but I know it's been 6 hours.
Then you feel refreshed.
Completely refreshed. Completely refreshed. And so melatonin is very helpful as well to get good sleep. If you can sleep 8-10 hours a day, I mean, especially on the weekend, if you can sleep 8 to 10 hours, that in itself is a return to source when we sleep that good.
I really appreciate you saying that. Just as a quick aside, my boyfriend is very understanding about the PTSD. I am so fortunate. He has done a lot of studying about it. He understands a lot of what's going on with me, but he's not getting on board with my sleeping as much as I feel that I need. So, you know, I'm just going to have to maintain what I'm doing because it is a self-care for me. It's an important self-care for me.
Just explain to him that at that point in time, we are returning to source, and that brings healing into the body. That's when the depth of that sleep, the REM sleep, is when the body is producing melatonin, right? Not the cortisol. You don't want any more. You've produced enough cortisol in your life that you don't need any more cortisol. You need more of the melatonin, the good stuff to be produced, right? And sleep is the one factor. If you get deep REM sleep, right? Rapid eye movement sleep, then that's going to help as well.
I really find that really comforting, that what you just said about producing melatonin as opposed to more cortisone to get to sleep.
Yes. And you can take the melatonin supplement until you produce it yourself. Take it so that it gets you to that deep sleep.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I have used melatonin, but I haven't used it consistently. Like sometimes I'll just use Benadryl. I mean, I don't go to sleep if I don't have something, but I'm just going to switch over.
I would say go to this website, vimergy.com, and order the supplements from that company because they're very pure, no fillers, and the melatonin doesn't even give you a drowsy effect, but it is like massively, I've found like I couldn't sleep more than 4 or 5 hours. Now, at least like on the weekend, I can sleep 8 hours just because I've had the melatonin. So
thank you so much.
I've used melatonin quite successfully for the same reason. When we're processing through, especially traumatic, enervating nervous system spaces, Melatonin is actually what your pineal gland releases inside the body that helps the body actually heal. So supplementing with melatonin is actually very beneficial to rebalance the circadian rhythms in our own sleep cycle. And if you're dealing with sustained chronic PTSD over years and years and years, you will need more sleep because your nervous system is trying to function, trying to hold its space against the enervation, the agitation in your nervous system, and trying to balance out your sleep.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Frances has joined. She had been working 2 or 3 shifts, so she finally joined. Frances, you want to give any advice to Megan? I think you're on mute. I had to mute you so that we would have clear sound. You may have to unmute yourself. There we go. Thank you.
Yay. Oh my goodness. It's so nice to be here with everybody. You're all so lovely and so amazing. And I think I'm the only one on the other side of the world where we're like experiencing sunshine. And look at me, I'm in a brassiere sports bra because it's so hot. And you're all going into darkness. I am feeling quite humble and grateful to be. That's me. To be here. Thank you.
Do you have any advice for Megan, Frances?
What can I offer? I'm going through my own little situation at work in regards to contracts. I don't even know if it's okay. I'm going to reread PTSD, which is suffering and sadness and something I have suffered my life. I think what I live and what I believe is just to be pure and to be of whole heart. And I don't want to cry because it's sad and it's silly.
It's okay to cry, Frances, because we have to honor our emotions. I was listening to Kim Ing, her meditation on resist nothing. And right now, your awareness, you give your presence to the emotion that you're feeling, which is, if it's extreme sadness, then that is the emotion that you need to experience at this moment. And it's okay. You know, the one thing, and this is for Megan as well. So our ego will come tell us, I can't handle this, right? This throes of grief, this throes of despair, this throes of depression, I cannot handle it. The ego will come tell that, right? There'll be a voice in the head, bury it, right? stuff it down.
Yeah.
I cannot
I
handle.
can't.
But our
Yeah.
presence, we need to bring our presence power and feel it feel it
Yeah.
completely, because then that'll release it and dissolve it instead of storing it. It takes 90 seconds for emotions to live in our body. If you were to give it the complete spaciousness, right? And that's why I become very still, to allow you the spaciousness to experience your emotion, because you need to experience your emotion. It's okay to experience your emotion in this
Thank
moment.
you.
Perfectly all right.
Thank you so much. And
You're
it
most
just, yeah, brings a lot of power. And I think all the learning I did with my grandmother, who passed, I cared for her till she passed in her late 90s. But as a grandchild, the relationship we grew and we had, just surpassed all. I don't even know. I can't explain it. But in regards to PTSD, I've experienced PTSD numerous times in my life, and I think all I can say is, in its heightened state, I had to let it all go and not embrace any of it. And it was tough. It was the hardest. It was one of the hardest, toughest things I've had to deal with in my life, as an individual, because I had no one to help me. In a hospital bed where I was undergoing serious pain. Nurses wanted to see me suffer, and I had to suck it up and go through it. Luckily, I had friends on the outside world who were there, and I'd met and made amazing relationships with, and taught me how to deal with situations like this. And for pain relief, just basic pain relief, they said that I needed to suppress and apologize to the oppressors and all the rest of it. I don't know if anyone else has been in that situation. But it's pretty freaking hard.
Francis, may I ask you a question? My heart is going out to you. But you said something that I didn't understand about oppressing the oppressors. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, and what does that, I don't understand that, I guess. If you could sort of flesh that out a little bit.
I think what I mean by that is, so imagine being in a situation. Sorry, I've got a fly buzzing around me. In a hospital bed where nobody believes you, nobody is there to help you.
When you're in pain?
In total pain.
Mm.
I had a phone and I was ringing my mom, my boyfriend, but nobody believed me. Luckily, I rang a good friend who had worked in the ward that I was in. And she said, Francis, this is what you need to do. She said, you need to apologize to these people who are hurting you and are not giving you the pain relief you need.
Did that resonate with you? Is that what you did? Did that
Yes, I did.
resonate?
I did it. I did it. I did what I had to. So I apologized to the oppressors and said, I'm so sorry for hurting or, being behaving so badly, knowing all the while that they were behaving badly. But luckily I had, a woman of who was, it was tough. If there weren't bars on the window, I would have thrown myself out of the window because, it was pretty horrible. Yeah, just a small portion.
Well, I certainly hope that you got the pain medicine that you were asking for after you did that.
I did eventually get some Panadol, but it was pretty bad. My bladder was about to burst. Yeah, and the nurses were quite happy to see it burst, which was pretty horrible.
Sounds like Nurse Ratched.
It's Nurse Ratched to an extreme. I've been there, I've done it, and
So how have you worked through, like, do you have triggers from that experience, like to this day, or no?
I have all the paperwork.
Do you have triggers? Do you have like physical or emotional or thinking triggers from that experience?
I don't think so. I'm so lucky through that experience. That was a hysterectomy experience. And my surgeon, who was amazing and beautiful, and I went through so much trauma, not just the nurses, but you can't imagine. But jokingly on my initial consultation, I said, I would love to have a little tummy tuck and with my surgeon. And she was just like, oh, you were so gorgeous. And I was like, no, I'm serious. If you could do a little tummy tuck when you do your little procedure. And there was something there that clicked. And she was just like, I like her. And, I was just with my mom, who, is my mom. But during the whole process, and we just went through the process. Part of the process was being in the ward with the nurses, who then got I think they just didn't like me. They got a gist of, I feel that they thought that I was better than everyone else, and I never ever felt that. I would never do that. And in their mind and world, they treated me like shit.
How do you know, though? How do you know what was in their mind?
I know that they were nasty people. No, they wanted to hurt me. I knew it. I was screaming the ward down, crying for how I just wanted to, I couldn't even, my bladder was about to explode. They didn't give a shit. I'm screaming the whole ward. No one would listen to me. And the nurses on the ward are going, oh, she's like, there's something wrong with her, blah, blah. That night, late in the middle of the night, I had a change of shift, and she came on, and she'd already been they'd already said, she's freaking rah, and already tried to hurt I don't have the words right now, but when this woman came on change of shift, and she realized what I was going through, which was horrific, because my bladder was going to explode. She just went, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And it all kind of unfolded. You know, I'm still to this day, my surgeon is good friends with me on Facebook and is a honey, because she backs me, and I could have gone down the road of, total, like, bringing this woman to justice. And I had to present in that ward several times, several, like not one or two, but 1 or 2, 3 or 4 times, because of my bladder and because the trauma they had put me under. But because of my surgeon, who believed in me and knew, she was amazing, and so she put me under her team, helped me. But I remember quite vividly walking down an aisle in the ward where I was succumbed to this drama and torture. I feel it was torture. It was horrific. And seeing this woman, a nurse who's meant to be kind and compassionate and all the rest of it, but anyway, realizing she wasn't, walking past her and turning around, like walked past her, turned around, going, you would hope that that person had, changed their point of view, but she just grinned and smiled at me, and I just thought, wow, it's really sad, really sad.
I'm sorry that you weren't taken care of. You didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Megan, for your compassion. Oh my God, she's been so sweet to Francis.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis, for sharing your story.
you.
But it no longer is your present moment. Remember that.
Not at all. No, it's not at all my present moment. I would not wish that on anyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And even this woman that laughed and joked behind my back, it was kind of a release, because I had all the paperwork. I could have like gone there with the nurse, but I decided, it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth any of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best decision that you made.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is it's an incredible gift that we give another, but in giving that gift, we give that gift to ourselves when we forgive.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's all right. All is well.
Thank you.
Ken, did you want to say something?
Yes. Wow. It's been incredible. I love hearing what everybody had to share and say. And Kelly, there's so many things that resonated with me as you shared. And just hearing the different stories has triggered a lot of my PTSD trauma. And it goes back to, and I even had flashbacks of different things happening that I remembered, and very vividly, so many things have been repeating themselves. the first thing I remembered was when I was probably 4 years old, I was on a dog. I was on a Doberman. And I remember being on its back like a horse. And then the Doberman bit me. And my father yelled at me and says, well, you shouldn't have ridden the horse. And I'm 4 years old and my face is full of blood from getting bit in the head. So, and I remember actually now how I felt my father saying that. Within a year later, I fell down on my wrist between two arteries. I think I was 5 years old. I got 27 stitches and I was full of blood. And my mother passed out when she saw me because she couldn't be with all the blood. So what went through me was she didn't care. And there were 3 or 4 boys just yelling and dancing and hanging out, saying, Kenny's going to die. Let's watch him die. And I said, where's my father? Where's Dad? He can't come. He's at work. And there were other things that had happened during my childhood that both my parents weren't available. And I remember being 5 or 6 years old and asking my father for a quarter to go to the movies with some friends. And my father said that in order to go places, you have to work for it. So after that, I started selling lemonade. So, and I won't keep going on with different stories like that, but as a young age, I always felt I wasn't being seen, I wasn't being heard. And now, where I am now, I know that I wasn't enough. I wasn't being loved. And my priorities were really tainted. And there are so many things that have happened after that, that I know was the trauma and PTSD and how I played different roles growing up were all extensions of what I received and how my whole system was being developed. So I know my natural instincts were really warped. I became an alcoholic, a workaholic. I was terrified I wasn't going to have enough money in my life. And it was like, both my parents were not emotionally available. And I was very emotional as a little boy. So I realized that I was always dependent on something. I was never grounded. And then it's only the last couple of years I realized even my relationships with women I was very codependent. I was a people pleaser. I thought what I was doing was love, and it wasn't love at all. It was all through fear and dependency. So, I'm amazed now. I'm just going to kind of go forward just because of the time and whatnot. But all these things kept returning. I kept having attachments and I couldn't really let go of certain things, not really understanding why am I repeating patterns. And I've had many different addictions and whatnot. So understanding now that having the presence, when this stuff comes up, even today, hearing it, normally hearing what I'm hearing and then feeling still unfinished business from attachments or whatnot, I would still feel like there's still something else I'm hanging on to. And recently, when these things come up, I will say this, with everything happening, I never knew what loving myself really was. And that's one of the things that Kelly was talking about that I could really resonate with. when I started to really start liking and loving who I was. And that took years. It took years because there was a long period of time I literally hated who I was. And I thought I was a bad person and I didn't understand things. So once I started a spiritual practice with an occurrence that happened to me in the late 80s, I had an incredible awakening, and they call it a white light awakening. And a voice came in, an energy entered me, and that saved my life. And that changed my life from that point on. But ever since then, all the different things that I'm going through with the different addictions and codependency and still working, and actually had a son that passed away, I'm realizing that I'm supposed to learn something from all this. There's a reason why it's happening. And I used to always think everything was happening to me to hurt me because of how I was feeling emotionally. And more recently, I'm realizing that, no, I'm really loving myself. I'm really liking the shadow parts of myself, the parts of me that I've been trying to suppress or deny, or I didn't want to feel because it was too painful. So I've really developed this part of myself that the pain and suffering is here to help me. It's here to heal me. And I've learned to surrender to something greater than myself quite a few years ago. And so by praying and meditating and then being with like-minded people, that's when everything started to shift. As I started to shift, then the different energies that were coming through were different. And I knew that this was a divine intervention happening. And then coming in actually even to this group, probably, I don't know, 8 months ago, I was drawn to it. And I've gone through incredible fears since I've started. And I used to always feel fear, always had this fist in my chest of guilt and whatnot. And all these different things they're just disappearing. They're like melting away. And if I didn't have the presence within myself and the belief, but also being with like-minded people, it's amazing that this loving energy, this intimacy, has just been incredible. And it's helping me to understand. It's like being rewired, being redeveloped. I'm letting go of what isn't serving me, and I'm recreating a new me. And it's just been absolutely a gift. And realizing that everything happens for a reason and there are no mistakes. And I've come to really learn that it's my stuff. I've come here to work through my stuff to get to a higher level of consciousness. And that everything that had happened is just part of the lessons. So just really, really grateful for everything. Thank you.
Eternally grateful to you, Ken, for this, the recounting of your past. So it's a great exemplary lesson for all of us that this is how a life can unfold. The one thing I would tell everyone is when our parents or anybody around us withdraws that way, when your dad says, or somebody says your dad is at work and he's not available, and your mom passes out looking at your blood, and so she's abandoned you, you get a sense of, oh, she's not there for me, she's passed out, right? What is happening in that moment is planetary intelligence through that spiritual teacher, that angel in disguise, is teaching us our inner being is always with us. Ken, at 4 years old, planetary intelligence is saying, Ken, wake up. Your inner being is always with you. 5 years old, Ken, you're about to die out of these 27 stitches and bleeding to death. Wake up. Your inner being is always with you. So it's every experience, whether we were 3 years old, whether we were 2 years old, and this is something for Megan, each and every experience, planetary intelligence through these angels, through these unconscious human beings is telling us, so-and-so, Ken or Poonam or Kelly or Patricia or Megan or Francis, your inner being is always, or Marla, your inner being is always with you. Trust it. Learn to trust, get into alignment, get into alignment, get into alignment with your inner being. Your inner being is your power. Get in touch with your power, which is exactly what you're doing. The part that Dr. Joe Dispenza says, I bless my past for its wisdom. Convert all that past into wisdom. It gave us a lesson. It is wisdom. And that's what we hold, is the wisdom. The past is gone. It's no longer our present moment. It's not needed. What happened to us at 4, what happened to us at 5, what happened to us at 6, it's gone. It's past. The power is in this moment. What am I going to do in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
What power am I going to bring in this moment is all that is needed. Nothing more is needed. Because if not, the past will drag us. If we continue to repeat the past in our head, it will drag us. And actually we will continue to co-create the same past in our present moment. We'll continue to co-create the same trauma in the present moment. So if you need to change the present moment, we need to feel the power. We need to feel the power of this moment. And that's what I have to offer to everyone, is feel the power of the present moment. That's where the power is. That's where the vertical dimension and the horizontal dimension, they meet, right? In that point, that 0 point, get to the 0 point.
Yes, you had mentioned forgiveness. And that is, to me, that's hitting the nail on the head. I had to forgive everyone, and then including myself, and realizing that this was part of, this is all the lessons. This is the miracle of this work. So thank you so much. You said it beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
May I ask may I ask a question? Oops, I'm sorry.
Sure.
No, I do apologize for interrupting. Poonam, thank you. We're saying that so concisely and beautifully. That's exactly it. And I needed reminding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marla. Megan, you were saying something?
Well, first of all, I'm beginning to already change my answer to thinking about being grateful after my episodes of wisdom, I'll call them, as opposed to triggers. And I'm not saying that flippantly, but I do have a question for Kelly or anyone who would care, because I struggle with forgiveness. I don't think I actually know how to forgive, because I think if I feel hurt, then that means I haven't forgiven them. And I honestly don't know how to do that.
You wanted to answer, Kelly? I can say a couple of words.
Go ahead. When there's
I'll say 2 sentences and then you can take over, Kelly.
Sure.
What I would say is our mind can never forgive.
Mhm.
That transcendent dimension of presence needs to arise. The self-awareness needs to arise. From the self-awareness, we realize the truth of the statement that Eckhart wrote in The Power of Now, where he says, nothing that ever was, and I'm paraphrasing it, nothing that ever was done to me or I have done to another ever touched my radiant essence. yes, something happened to our physical body, something happened to our psychological body, but my radiant essence, which is this inner being, was never touched. In that knowing is forgiveness. And there's nothing to forgive because everything needed to happen exactly the way it happened, because it did. The inevitability of the past, present moment. It needed to happen. All our traumas needed to happen exactly. They did. And I'm not saying that Ken had trauma, Marla. Each and every one of us has gone through trauma. But we have a knowing out of that awareness that it needed to happen exactly how it did, because it did. Inevitability of the past, present moment. And Kelly, take it away. Thank you.
Forgiveness is one of the unmutable laws of creation. And there's a lot to unpack with forgiveness. One of the biggest traps of the ego is the trap of anger and holding on to anger and not believing that we can ever change. So what you're saying, Megan, speaks to a place I used to understand very well as when I was younger. I was very angry when I was younger. And part of what's going on from my experience, when you say that you don't think you understand how to forgive, is, you know, there are times when I didn't think I would be able to forgive certain people that had done certain things in my life. And while, yes, there is learning in everything, forgiving others does not require the other person to understand. Forgiveness requires us to accept that we are in a different place and that we can choose to be in a different place consciously. We can actively participate in our ability to move forward. And it does not depend on anything other than our own ability to be emotionally responsible and present with ourselves, and to accept that any pain that we have experienced, any trauma that we have experienced, however horrendous, does not require anyone else to participate in our choice to heal.
Choice to heal is very powerful. And recognizing the change, because I, like you, was a very angry young woman. And now I've come to the point where I still have my moments, trust me. But I've made that shift. I want to forgive. I think that's what you're saying is, you know, I'm making that decision and I want to do it. And I need to kind of accept that and move on.
Have you ever had the conversation with yourself, asking yourself whether or not you are okay with forgiving people and forgiving yourself for holding on to the anger?
Well, that's a really good point too. And there's one particular person who I cannot even come to the point of wanting to forgive. But that's an interesting question to look at it that way.
Have the conversation with yourself. This is one of the things I did for myself, is even though there's that part of me is like, oh no, this is so righteous. This anger feels so good. It feeds my, it feeds that emotional fix, right? That ego fix. One of the biggest things that helped me understand, and this sort of goes to what Poonam was saying, that at a soul level, we've already orchestrated our evolution. We've already orchestrated and chosen everything that happened to us so that we could have all of the information that we need to maximize the depth of our feelings so that we can evolve. And there are some people who are going through life completely unaware, except they are being moved by spirit. They are being moved by a divine hand to be in our path, to cross our path in order to trigger us. And most of these people will be completely unaware or be unable to appreciate anything beyond their own little unconscious world.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
And when I began to not just understand, but accept that I had grown past and I was in a completely different place, and I really was not that person
Mm.
anymore, and that I was loving myself and that I love who I am, and that it was okay to love my sleep
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
and all the things that helped me when I began to accept all of those things. That's self-love, and realize, you know what, I can forgive all those people that have crossed my path, that I've interacted with, because they have all contributed to providing experiences that are showing me how much stronger I am than I ever thought possible.
That's an interesting, that, the last thing you said is actually kind of a little trigger for me. I don't want to be that strong.
Yeah, but guess what? You are. You are here today because you are that strong. There is no way that you can refute that. You are here today because you are that strong.
Mhm.
And this is what your heart wants you to understand, is
Mm.
that there is so much more depth to you, so much more strength than your mind wants you to understand, that is in your heart, that you are already embodying because you are here today.
Mm.
Mhm.
Good. That's very good stuff.
Mhm.
That is where my forgiveness really started, is when I began to be, and again, going to what Poonam said about gratitude.
Mm.
And I'm really glad she brought that up, because that was actually the next step for me. Not just saying I am okay feeling all this, but I am grateful for this pain because it shows me how strong I really am, because
Mm.
I'm not going to give in.
Mhm.
I'm going to move beyond this, and I am not going to give in to the pain, the anger, the fear, or the judgment.
That's a really good way of putting it. And that's what I've been doing my whole entire life, is not giving into that, but I've never verbalized that or been able to verbalize that. So thank you for that.
I've been there. I know what it's like. So give yourself permission to accept how strong you are.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna really work on that.
It's not easy. It takes practice.
Mm.
I got boxes of t-shirts, $8.99. You want one? I'll It takes practice, and that's the whole point. This is
Yeah.
a practice. This is the journey. This is the discipline. This is about accepting, being present with ourselves,
Mm.
understanding that, yeah, there's pain, but guess what? You are stronger than it. The pain is just a story,
That's really amazing. Mm.
and you are not that story anymore.
Mm-mm. Right.
You are already stronger than that pain.
Darn straight. I've never really thought of that, but
I've thought about it a lot. So
yeah.
I can really appreciate where you're coming from with that question,
Yeah.
because when I was famous for my temper when I was a kid.
Me too.
Grew up in a French Catholic school, and I wasn't French and I wasn't Catholic.
Oh, okay.
So I had to learn how to swear better in French than, everybody around me, to sort of, protect myself, kind of thing. So self-love is about forgiveness. And it's about recognizing how strong you really are.
Mm.
The fact that you are here today, the fact that you are here on this planet, means that you are so much stronger,
Mhm.
so much more stronger, much more stronger.
Very, very, very strong.
Very, 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 right? We all are. And this is the point.
Yeah, that's the point. That's a very good way of, I so appreciate everything that I'm hearing this evening from everyone. I do feel grateful for that.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Infinite gratitude. Great lesson.
Lots of love, you guys.
Patricia, you want to wrap it up? It's getting late. It's like 2.5, almost 2.5 hours today. Go ahead.
Yes, it was wonderful. It's past my bedtime, but it was needed to happen. So grateful. I have just one thing, and it's following Eckhart Tolle, saying that if the only thing we practice is saying thank you, it's enough.
Mm.
So it's simple, because sometimes, like Tony Robbins said, complexity is the enemy of action. So if you overwhelm with different techniques, different things, you just don't know what to do. I go back to Eckhart, because Eckhart provides either ways to get back to present moment through breathing, through nature, through sense perceptions. So you need that anchor. And once you have that anchor, just say thank you. From the moment you wake up, thank you. Thank you. Going, to the bathroom, doing simple things, just keep saying out loud, thank you. It's simple to remember, and miracles will happen. I guarantee you. And this is when also, when Kelly was talking about, I remember when you're not here, Kelly, and April is here, and we have a question. He said, where's Kelly when I need him? So when you guys were talking about sales contract with the difficult person to forgive, Megan, is that he is meant to be there, or she, to be difficult. You actually contracted that with him. So think about it. So be thankful, because it's pointing something at you. So once you shift from, I can't forgive that person, they did something horrible, to thank you, it's something will completely changed energetically. And you won't even have to forgive, it just will happen.
Mhm.
And you will be free.
Well, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible, Patricia.
Yeah.
So what Patricia is saying, Megan, is if that person, let's say, I'll use a generic traumatic thing that happens across this planet, is physical abuse, right? If that person physically abused us, so that person in that physical abuse is teaching us, we had a contract with that person that go ahead, and you in this lifetime, both of us made a contract that in this lifetime, you will physically abuse me so that I can learn how to not hold resentment, how not to hold anger, the thing that Kelly has healed in himself. How would Kelly heal anger in himself if they were not people that were making him angry?
That's right.
That is the purpose of all the unconscious human beings in our life, is they show us what triggers in us so that we can look at it. And that's why the looking of the emotion is necessary. Your emotional field will show you what you need to heal. And that's all that that person was there for. But then we take that story and repeat it over and over again, and that causes PTSD. Is because we are just remembering the story over and over again. That story already happened and it's over.
May I say something about that? And not to be disrespectful, but PTSD is actually a brain injury. My brain was rewired so that my amygdala became much more active than my frontal cortex. So I do work to stay in the present, and I try to meditate, and I was able to rewire my brain through meditation because I was having horrific nightmares and all sorts of things. So I just kind of wanted to say, I guess I'm defending myself, but sometimes the things that come up, I work very hard to redirect, to meditate, to see if I need to pay attention to this emotion. Maybe I've decided to or not. Or sometimes I'm totally oblivious and I'm not managing anything at all. But I think what it sounds like you're saying that I'm doing it consciously somehow, even though I don't know it.
Doing what consciously?
Thinking thoughts over and over again.
You may be unconsciously thinking of thoughts over and over again because the trigger won't happen. It's an unconscious, your subconscious mind is, you have a pain body, we have a pain body, right? The pain body, the toxicity of the adrenaline, and that's why the medical medium protocol helps, because it's cleansing, right? You cleanse yourself, you get rid of all the toxic adrenaline in your body, then that's one physical cleanse. The inner body meditation or Qigong, doing Qigong is another way of getting into your body and releasing that toxicity in our body, right? When we release that, then that feeding mechanism will not happen, that the toxicity that's stored in us will not feed into the thought and cause the cycle, right?
That makes sense to me. That
And
resonates. Yeah.
as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, even though your brain got rewired, right? There is a way to get into that vibrational state where you can pull out of there, see time and space. Like what he says is when we are going for a cup of coffee, our mind goes, we wake up, we go, I need to go get a cup of coffee. So we are traveling through space to create time. But if you don't travel through space, right? Time is infinite. Time is infinite. So in that infinite realm, there is a Megan that never experienced a PTSD that is completely healed. And you need to pull that experience into this present moment. And that only happens when we are so much in this power of this present moment. And that's why the whole cleansing helps. The whole meditation experience helps. Everything combines together to raise your vibrational frequency. The Qigong helps so that you can raise your vibrational frequency to pull that experience where you're completely healed. No matter what trauma, no matter what cancer, stage 4 cancer, no matter Parkinson's, no matter autoimmune. Look at the testimonials of Dr. Joe Dispenza. No matter how horrendous the chronic illness has been, people have healed out of it. But we have to get to that point of getting to that frequency. And
Also, Megan, patience and just practice. This is my things like, oh, I've done the work. Why it's still happening to me? I've done the work. Why is it not happening sooner? Just every day, it's a humble practice, and the grace is there with you. So as long as your job is to practice and stick with it, the miracles will happen and gets better. It does. Look at all of us. We were crying hysterically, 8 months ago, and now I feel so present.
Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. That's great. I will continue to practice. I mean, some days I forget to practice even, it has to be a very,
one day
That's part of the process.
Yeah.
Understanding the spaces when you are present and not is part of the process of understanding your own language for yourself.
We all practice. And Poonam, she said she meditates 2 hours. For each one of us is something different. For Kelly, it's the Qigong, right? A lot of it. And for me, it's morning mantras. These are my favorite. Lakshmi gave us gift of mantras, and they seem to work for me very much. So pick something that at that stage works
for you.
best. Yeah.
And Dr. Joe Dispenza has meditations as well on his website. To Blessings of the Energy Centers. It's about raising your energy centers to the upper, what they say, the 7th chakra or the 8th chakra, right? Raising your energy centers.
Yeah, it's like brushing your teeth. You have to do it every day. It's
do the
just
work and you'll see the benefit. So on the note of effortless grace, infinite gratitude to all of you. The divine today has been present through each and every one of you. Francis, Megan, Kelly, Ken, Patricia, Marla, and Caesar.
And Poonam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Many blessings, much love. Good night. Thank you, Kelly,
Night.
for all
Thank
the
Thanks.
you. Thank you all.
Bye. Bye.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Bye.